All right.
Hey.
Hello.
Welcome, friends and foes, misfits and miscreants, and all people passionate about photography. Rob Provencher here from NoBS Photo Success. And before John says a few words and introduces or hands off the baton to our speaker, I just want to say, I love doing these live streams. So thanks, John, for putting these together and sort of like taking the lead on this. This has been an amazing experience as we're in a number 6 already. And I'm especially excited about today because a longtime member, somebody I've known for many, many years now, Nancy Tillberg, all the way from the land of sunshine and snowflakes in Thunder Bay. Nancy is a retired police officer. What is it with you police officers? As soon as you hit retirement, you literally hit the ground running with your photography business. You and Danny Rabela. I mean, I know very few people like you who not only picks up the ball, you pick up like 7 or 8 balls and you start juggling all these different projects. And it's like, you're making us look bad. We're the regular guys, but I didn't mean to say we're the regular guys in the sense that you aren't working full time as a photographer, because you are. But, I've had you on a bunch of other webinars, which are in the forum. And it's just, I know you've got a very interesting story, and you got a lot of passion and marketing strategies for photographers. So I'm really excited to have you on with us, Nancy. And before I finish that, I just wanted to add one more thing, and I can't remember what it was. Yeah, well, I'll just kind of give the lay of the land. We're going to talk about Nancy's very diversified, but we're going to sort of focus in on dance photography. She's got a 30-minute presentation, and then we're going to do Q&A. So that's sort of our rough format. And John, what do you got to say about all this? I'll let you carry on.
Well, I'm just going to remind everybody before we get started that if you haven't been on this before, if you look at it should be on our page, and I'll try and put it in the comments as we go along. But make sure you go and check that little link on the description there that says streamyard.com/Facebook. If you click on there, it takes you to a page that allows you to give Facebook permission to use your name in the comments. Because if not, on Facebook itself, we'll see your comments if I'm watching it on my phone here. But when we see the comments here, it just comes through as Facebook user. We don't know who you are. So this way we can actually see who's asking the questions. And it's safe for your computer. They're not going to hack your computer or anything. It is safe. So make sure you do that. But no, other than that, I'm anxious to see how this goes too, because I know I do a lot of the same photography that Nancy does, because she does dance. And I had, up until the summer that just passed where we couldn't do it, we had 3 different dance schools that we shoot here. And that's been put on the back burner. We have 2 of them that we're still shooting that hopefully this year we'll be able to. So I'm curious to see what Nancy has to say today, and learn a lot from her if we can. So I don't know if Rob, if you just want to go right to Nancy, and welcome Nancy to the show, of course.
Nancy, yay! So good to have you here. I'm just curious about the comments. It's not showing up on my end here.
There is no comment yet.
Okay.
Yeah, nobody's made a comment.
Okay, I thought I was going to be able to go. I see chat and it's grayed out, so I don't have access.
But you can't. Oh, mine's working like on my side. I say comments, and I can see the comments. I just can't type here. I have to type it in here over here. So
I see private chat. Anyways, I'm sure we'll figure it out. So if I cannot see the comments, I'll let you kind of keep an eye on them, John, if any comments come through and we have questions. So Nancy, so how are you doing? And can you give us a little synopsis, status quo, State of the Union addressed all the way from Thunder Bay?
Yeah, the State of the Union here is complete and utter shutdown, lockdown, business is closed. Photography studios open for commercial photography. So, if you want to bring in your corporation for headshots, that's okay, but don't come with your family. So it's
all right.
It's all a little strange, but you know what? That's okay. I'm using January as just a rest period. Christmas was so busy. The fall and Christmas time were just so incredibly busy.
Cool.
That it was a real struggle to keep up. So this is, the time to clean up, rejuvenate, clean the cupboards, do the books, get everything ready for another really great year.
Good to hear. Like, what were you busy doing, if I can ask?
Well, during the last lockdown, I converted my studio over to boutique volume entirely. So everything that I do now is done pretty much in volume. There are very few lengthy sessions anymore.
Right.
So I've got the dance, the sports, all done with a boutique volume methodology, mini sessions, the pop-up weddings, and my model program, which is essentially high school seniors done boutique volume style. And it just seemed that after everybody was locked down for the entire summer, they were just dying for things to do. And all of a sudden, family and portraits were important again.
That's good to hear.
So yeah, it was a good year.
That's good.
Really
That's good to hear. Well, why don't we jump into your 30-minute presentation that you put together, or your PowerPoint, and then if you have questions, Q&A, we'll go into that afterwards. I think it would make more sense to sort of follow that timeline. What do you guys think? You all good?
Sounds good to me.
All righty. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen here.
Okay. When I see it, I'll pop it on there for everybody.
And okay, that did not work.
Not yet. It will.
Try that again.
It gets easier the more you do it.
Yeah, it's application window. There we go. Look at that.
There we go. No, I'm just waiting for it to pop. Oh, I'm seeing it come up. There we go. All right. So we're just going to put that in there. There, now we can see it.
Yay.
Perfect. Okay, so yeah, jumping right into this. About 3.5, almost 4 years ago, I was asked to do a presentation down at a convention in the States on dance, and I named the way that I was doing dance photography boutique volume, because volume photography basically takes the genre of shooting a whole lot of people in one session, but with dance photography, it needed a little bit more of a kick to make the sales work. So what is boutique volume? It's a methodology that I use, especially in dance, but also with other genres of photography. But I started it with dance because dance is one of those things that sits beyond regular volume photography. You can take a picture of little Johnny with his baseball bat and he's going to be cute, and you can run through those very quickly. Same with school photography. That's not the case with dance. You have to have some extra tools in your tool bag to be able to shoot dance, and you have to spend a little bit more time with the client, giving that type of shooting more of a boutique feel. So it's volume in the sense that you have one umbrella club, and volume in the sense that you have multiple customers under that umbrella, but boutique in the way you create a luxury experience for the client to raise your sales averages. So why dance in particular? First of all, I'm a big believer in diversification. I think that it's fun, it adds income, and it gives you a safety net when you are in an uncertain market like that we've been experiencing for the last 1.5 years now. Dance studios exist just about everywhere. They're in virtually every community, even the smaller ones. And you've got a whole bunch of pre-qualified buyers. And what do I mean by a pre-qualified buyer? Well, this slide here is going to give you an idea of the cost of competitive dance. And if you've got hockey players in your family, I had a goalie, dance can make that look inexpensive. So point shoes, you're looking at least 3 pairs a year for a competitive dancer, anywhere between 130 and 180 a pair. All your other shoes might be $50 a pair. Costumes can be $80 to $300. I've seen people buying costumes for $600, $800, and $1,000. And if you have 10 dances, you do the math, that adds up really quick. Competition fees are huge. So for every dance that a child performs in at a single competition, it's about $90. If you have 10 dances, again, do the math and you can see that, and then times that by how many competitions you're going into. You've got your training fees, so you have to pay your teacher to teach you how to do this. Solo choreography, private studio time, music, travel, hotel, undergarments, warm-up gear, summer workshops, intensive exam fees. I actually had to pay for a flight for a pianist to come to Thunder Bay from Toronto so that my daughter could do her exam to piano music. On average, I was spending about 10 grand a year, and I wish I had all that money right now, because if I had all that money that I spent on my daughter's dance, I would definitely have a nice little Tesla in my driveway. So yeah, competitive moms, they spend a lot of money on dance, and as a result, they have no qualms about spending money on pictures as well. But within a studio, you're also going to have a lot of recreational dancers. So these are the kids that are coming in for one class a week. Usually it's ballet, sometimes it's jazz, some of them like acro. And they're going to have these really cute costumes, especially the little kids. They get dressed up like little ducks and bears and bunnies, and absolutely adorable. And those moms definitely want to have a record of their child's dance as well, especially a nice picture, not just a snapshot that they've done on their iPhone. So those parents, they're buying, but their average dollar spend is going to be lower than a competitive parent whose daughter has 10 costumes that they've invested in. So everybody in the studio is a potential client, and they're all well qualified. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to go over a quick start roadmap. And this is just a list of actionable steps that you can take to get started in dance. Each of these steps has got a specific purpose, and you need to follow them in order, and you can't skip steps. You can't move past number 1 to number 3 and have success. You have to follow all of these steps in order to get predictable results. And the predictable result would be a nice high sales average. Back when I first gave my first presentation a number of years ago, I learned that the average sale for a volume shoot was in the neighborhood of $24 to $29 per person. My sales average for dance, and I'm going to show you a slide later that will confirm that for you, is in the neighborhood of $117 per student. So the system works if you follow all the steps and don't skip any of them. So step number 1 is trust. It's very, very important that the studio owner and the parent and the student trust you. Those are your 3 clients when you're shooting volume. But the first person that you have to impress is the studio owner. She has a responsibility to her parents to make sure that the person that she hires to do this job is going to make her look good, so that she has advertising and marketing material and can keep her studio running. You have to be able to make her life easier, because if you come in and cause all kinds of problems and add work to her workload, she doesn't want you around. She's not going to hire you. She has to trust you morally with the children. So, criminal records checks are a really good thing to have, to be able to show that you have this. We're talking about kids and teenagers that sometimes are very scantily dressed in these dance costumes. So you need to have a plan in place to keep these pictures safe and to keep these children safe. And that goes a long way in building trust with the studio owner. She needs to know that you're actually a professional photographer, that you know how to work your camera. Because if you go in there and all the pictures are dark, you're not getting a second chance at that job. The studio owner also has to really like you. So, if you're gelling, that's good. And not every single studio owner is going to be your client. So sometimes, if your button heads or your personalities are so far off that you don't think you can work together, it's okay to pass on a job. Second of all, you got to have the parents liking you, and there's a whole process to that as well. And then the students as well. So you want to try and, have some fun with them and be a likable person. And part of that is just being authentic. The biggest thing when it comes to trust with the studio owner is your knowledge of the sport. So if you've got pictures with great expression and pretty costumes and, flowing scarves and things like that, that's awesome. Bring your knowledge of photography to the table for sure. But if you go in with great lighting and cutting edge equipment, but you don't know anything about dance, you're not going to make that studio look good. And if you can't make that studio look good, both for the studio owner and for the kids, they're not going to hire you. So you need to have some knowledge of dance. You can't begin to shoot a dance studio unless you go out and train yourself about some dance first. That does not mean you have to be a professional ballet artist. You do not need to be a dance teacher. You need to be a professional photographer who knows something about dance. That way you can do a whole lot of poses and you can give parents choice and increase your sales average. And at the same time, you give your dancers a fun experience. Now, this is where people always jump in and they say, oh, Nancy, I got this covered. I got this covered. You know, we always get the teachers to come and do the posing for us when we do the shoot. I'm like, yeah, you know what? That's awesome. But I guarantee you that those 17 and 18-year-old students that are helping you with posing don't care about your sales average. And they may not be trained even to the point that the dancer is. So they're not going to be looking to fine-tune the picture the way you can through the eye of the camera. And if you know your dance, you will very quickly see just before you snap that shutter if a foot is pointed, or if the center of gravity is off, or if the arms are wrong. And just by saying, okay, honey, you know, releve a little higher, which means to come up on your toes a little bit higher, you have already mastered one term of dance, and now you start to sound like an expert. So even though you have a helper there, it's good to know your dance so that you can spot those little things at the last second before you take the picture. Parents and dancers will not buy a picture if the technique of the dance is wrong in the photo. The dancer doesn't want that, especially a higher caliber dancer, because she doesn't want to be showing off pictures, and she doesn't want her mom showing off pictures of her doing something wrong. So again, very important that you know your dance and are able to spot technique flaws before you take the picture. And the studio owner, well, if you show her a picture with bad technique in it, she's running the other way. Okay, you're not going to get that job. So dance is huge. There are so many different genres of dance. It's just like photography. You could be a landscape photographer, a portrait, or a wedding. So we've got ballet and point and demi-point and lyrical and jazz and tap and acro and modern and contemporary and musical theater and hip hop and character and ballroom, and there's probably at least 100 more. I don't know. It amazes me every time I go into a studio and they tell me, oh, this is that kind of dance. And I'm like, oh, okay, there's tuck that one away. Some more things I need to learn. So some of the elements of good technique, proper leg, foot, arm, and hand postures. And there's a little bit of terminology that's going to go with that. Turnout. That's a really, really, really important one. And what that means is the legs are turned outwards from the hip and the feet point outwards. Very, very important and often missed. If you have pointed toes, there is a difference between a fully pointed toe and a foot that is slack or loose. And you can even, joke with the little kids about being, oh, look at that toe. It looks like a noodle, or, loosey-goosey, tighten it up, point that toe, turn that foot out. You sound like an expert. Have you said anything spectacular that requires you to be a rocket scientist? No. Very, very basic technical terms are going to help you get through this shoot. Good split is another one. And good splits mean that one knee faces up and one knee faces down, and the chest and the hips face forward. And a good split is important in a jump as well as splits on the floor. But what you're often going to see is the whole body turn sideways. And when the dancer sees that, they're not going to buy that picture because that technique is off. So yeah, let's take a look at a little bit of technique here. Here's some things that can seriously go wrong with arms in dance, especially with little kids. So when I'm, photographing the little kids and the kinder taught dancers, I tend not to have them use their arms. I tend to have them keep their arms down so that their shoulders don't go up into their ears like a football player, and their arms don't come forward, and their hands don't go all crazy and funny, and their elbows don't drop. So Lauren, the dancer photographed here over on the right, is showing you proper arm position there. The arms are slightly curved, the hands are slightly curved, and the shoulders are down. What she's wearing is something called a plate tutu. And that tutu should be level when you're photographing the dancer, regardless of what position they're in. If it starts to tip upwards or sideways, something is wrong with the body position. So just knowing that the plate is supposed to be flat and level with the floor so that you could put your spaghetti on it is a little bit of technique that is helpful to know, getting your technique right. This is a really, really critical one for point dancers. So when we do the anatomy of a point shoe, that portion at the toe called the box has a block inside of it. And that block is hard like wood. It's made up of layers and layers of fiber and glue. And, when you knock it on your head, it's going to make a nice little noise like you're knocking wood on your head. But a point dancer has to be on the block when you take their photo. So the, let me see, this dancer's left leg, so the leg over on the right side there, is fully on the block. The other one is not. If you take a picture of a point dancer and she's not fully up on point, they will not buy that picture. Don't show that picture to anyone because that dancer is going to be mortified. So here we have Lauren again. We have two pictures over on the left. She is up on point, and it's actually quite good technique there. There are, by the way, many, many methods of doing ballet. There's Cecchetti, there's Russian, there's BATD, and every method has got some different terminology that goes with it. But overall, the technique is fairly similar. So where she's up on point there, she's fully up on the block or the box of the point shoe. And when you're taking the picture from the front like that, you should just be able to see her back heel and not her entire foot. The feet should be pressed fairly close together. In the second picture over on the right, she is not on the block. You are not going to sell that photo. And you'll also notice that the plate of the tutu is tilted slightly. Pointed toes, got some beautiful pointed toes there, but in the picture on the right, you have hyperextended knees. And what that means is the knees are locked and straightened beyond straight. Now that can look really nice in a jump or a leap, or if one leg is up, or it can look like the leg is broken. And if you are putting weight on a leg that has hyperextension going on, that's considered a technical error because that's dangerous for the dancer's joints. So hyperextension is most noticeable in thin little girls' arms. And when they put their arms on the ground or put any weight on it, you will sometimes see the elbow bend past straight. So that's something to watch for. Center of gravity. So here we are flipping it all upside down. This is Jacob. And over on the left-hand side, Jacob could probably stay in that arm stand all day long because his center of gravity is nicely placed. Over on the right, the unknowing person would go, oh my gosh, that looks amazing, but he's actually falling down. He didn't reach vertical and he's falling over. He's going to know that and he's not going to want that picture. A bridge. This is another one. Acro is gymnastics transitioning into dance. And you'll see a lot of acro, and especially little kids, they love to show off their bridge. So if they want to show it off, let them take the picture. And if they buy it, that's a bonus. But if they're showing good technique, you're more likely to sell it. A bridge with good position pushes through the shoulders and has straight legs. And a lot of the arch actually comes from the shoulders. Bridge with bad technique has bent legs, legs apart, elbows bent, head barely off the floor, and a whole lot of other problems. And that's what you see on the right is what you're actually going to see from a lot of the little kids. Like I said, if they want to show it off to you, by all means, take the picture. But you're more likely to sell that photo on the left. Now, what do you do if you have a dancer that just doesn't have good technique? Well, like I said earlier, keep the arms down, because all kinds of things can go wrong with arms up in the air. And if they haven't developed good technique, use a prop. You can use a pop too, but use a prop. I like to bring picture frames with me. I bring chairs, I bring ladders. Sometimes I'll just bring a big flower, and just using those things can make for some really, really cute photos. And you just let the dance be expressed by the costume. Nobody's going to mistake these photos for football photos. They are obviously dance photos, but nobody's dancing in them. So, use that to your advantage to be able to photograph those younger kids. This photo here has been in commercials. It's been on their website. It's their header on their Facebook page. They love this picture. Is anybody dancing? Mm-mm. They're tying a bow, and this kind of a pose goes a long way. And you let the costume itself speak for what you're doing. All right, that was step one. Step one is the preparation, the meat and potatoes of getting involved in dance. You need to know your dance, so get to know some technique, do some studying on that. Then you got to get into marketing. So some of the things that I do for marketing to my dance studios is posting on social media or running a contest. We might do some video advertising. I might do a newsletter to past clients, a contest on Instagram. I have a playbook, which is a 12-page booklet that is designed to go to the studio owner and tells my entire process of how picture day is going to run and how it's going to make her life easier and make her look good. She's the star of my book. The picture on the right there where it says Shine Photo, that's the cover of my playbook. I also use posters, and I provide those to the studio free of charge. There's an example of a poster over on the left-hand side. I have a documentation pack, and I have pre-written e-blasts that the studio owner can send out to the parent, so that we're constantly marketing to the parent as well, both about picture day and what they need to do to prepare for it, and when the proofs are going to be ready, and when the proofs are up, and when their time is running out to make an order. So those are just some of the marketing techniques that I use for dance. You need to market to the organization first, then to the parents. But the influencer, which is the student, is getting marketed to year round. In order for them to like you, you have to keep those kids engaged. And that's a good way to make sure that they're putting the bug in their parents' ear and their dance teacher's ear that they want you to be their photographer. And step 3 is shooting. Now, this is the easiest part because this is what you guys already know. And we're going to go into the studio and we're going to collect the gear and we're going to assemble the stage. Maybe you're going to have multiple backdrops. Maybe you're going to have a specific flooring. And these tools of shooting are going to differ for every single photographer. So Warren Noyce, for instance, he does this amazing, beautiful setup for his dancers. If I were to try that, I would probably drill my fingers to the floor. I have no idea how to do that kind of thing. I drive a Dodge Avenger, so everything that I bring to a dance studio needs to fit in the trunk of my car. So I'm not going to be buying 4x8 sheet panels at Lowe's. I'm going to opt for something else that's going to work for me. Floors, by the way, when I mentioned the panels that are often used for floors, they take the most abuse with dance. Point shoes, hip hop shoes, and tap shoes will destroy your floor in 3 easy steps. And then you either have to replace it to finish your shoot or clean it or spend hours and hours in post-processing to fix it up. So you want to make sure that the floor that you're using is something that can stand up to the abuse of dance. And I also like to buy, and this is something I learned in forensics, okay? In the morgue, they have these sticky mats on the floor. And before you go into the morgue, you have to step on the sticky mat, and it takes all the gook off your shoes. You can buy them through the Uline catalog, and you just put one of those down, get all the little dancers to step on that before they hit your floor, and your floor is going to stay clean for most of your shoot. A little pro tip for you there. My high key white outsells everything else about 9 to 1. It doesn't matter if I shoot on gray or shoot on black or shoot on a pretty background. When I shoot white, it outsells everything else. And the reason for that is because the advanced dancers want to show off their advanced dance technique. They don't want fancy borders. Most of them don't want composites, although I will sell a few composites every year. They want a nice, clean photo that shows off their technique. All right, here's my setup. These are 2 different studios, both set up very similarly. What you see in the background there is a 10 by 20 microfiber cloth. I've got 2 lights pointing at the cloth to keep it white, V-flats made out of foam core and duct tape that prevent the light from spilling onto my subject. And I use high gloss patent 3 millimeter vinyl that I buy at Fabricland on the floor. And those are 54 inches wide and about 16 feet long. And I overlap them about 2 inches. And that gives me a really nice glossy floor that gives a pretty reflection as well. And you'll see that my backdrop there in the second picture, has a seam down the middle because it's actually 2 backdrops sewn together. I find that when I do the pictures, that virtually disappears. And in the front, I've got 2 Alien B800s shoot through umbrellas. And over on the side, you will see a green screen. And I will also shoot headshots for kids on green screen, sometimes on a pretty backdrop. And I use those headshots to create a yearbook. I allow the studio owner to sell advertising for the back pages of the yearbook. And that gets them a fundraising component up to $3,000 for their studio. For me, that has worked really well instead of giving a kickback, because I'm not one that likes to give away the profits of the hard work. And believe me, this is hard work. So if they want some money, they got to do some work for it too. And the yearbook is another revenue stream for me as well. All right, we got to make sure that the poses that we're doing when we're shooting are age appropriate. So you don't want to be posing these high-level dancers in childish poses, and vice versa. You don't want a 6-year-old looking too sexy, because grandma, the hairs on her neck stands up when she sees that. So we want to keep these poses age appropriate. I like to do 3 poses for a group, which I have the teachers set up well in advance of me getting to the studio. And I do multiple solo, duet, and trio poses. You can do jumps. I don't do leaps because a leap is much harder to capture. The framing is difficult, and it's very difficult to see how many steps exactly a child is going to take in front of a leap. And it's dangerous because when they land, their forward momentum is pulling your floor forward, and they can fall and hurt themselves. So I only go with jumps, and I tend to get better extension on their body that way as well. I bring in a ladder usually to every shoot. That way I can shoot down. I can use the ladder as a prop. So this one is shot from the top of the ladder. And the funny thing is, when your parents are presented with multiple options like that, instead of a single or 2 pictures like they would get for school photos, they don't think in terms of, let me buy this or let me buy this. Which one am I going to get? No, they buy them all. And up go your sales averages. While you're at the studio, you can also think about shooting specialty sessions. So these are things that you would book in addition to, over and above at a different time. But we like to do smoke sessions. We've done glitter sessions. And I don't know that that's ever going to be on my radar again, those glitter sessions, because 2 years later, after I took that picture on the right, I'm still finding glitter in every nook and cranny of the studio. They're really messy. A lot of fun, but really messy. And we shoot that glitter through through a coffee can that's attached to a shop vac set to reverse. Ready, set, go. We turn on the shop vacs and the glitter comes out of the coffee cans, and yeah, it's a blast, but it's a mess. Scarves are very, very popular. Those are great specialty sessions to have. But now let's just for a second talk about what COVID did to dance. So most dance studios are teaching dance via Zoom. Competitions have virtually disappeared, and everything has to be disinfected, and it's very difficult to shoot groups. It's a little bit easier in some locations in the United States, but I know in Ontario here, dance is just, the dance studios are really experiencing a hard time. So how do we photograph those dancers who aren't getting to show their skills? And because they're not in competitions and because they don't have recitals, having photographs is 10 times as important to them as it used to be. So, take a screenshot if you want of this particular slide, because this is it, step by step, how to shoot a COVID mini session and make $1 gazillion. It's secure your location. So if you've got a studio, you're laughing. I bring in at least one employee, sometimes two, and I set up pop-up change tents in the hallway outside my studio, and we spray them down in between the kids that come in. But my staff, they're all masked up, gloves, the whole bit, and all they're doing is cleaning doorknobs, doing the floor, cleaning the shooting location after every dancer. And they're not only doing a good job of disinfecting, but they're giving the parents the perception that we operate a safe organization and that this is safe for their kids. Then you got to market, again, using social media or your newsletter. I have an online sign-up form. I use Acuity Scheduling, and I charge a $20 reservation fee, and I'll apply that to their order. So yeah, really cheap, but $20 gets them through the door and you don't have any no-shows. In Acuity, you can add 10 minutes for multiple costumes, and I go to a maximum of 5 costumes. So 50 minutes that a parent would be in there, and then I allow for 10 minutes for disinfecting. If you have a parent coming in with 5 costumes and you're shooting 15 to 20 poses per costume, and then providing them with an online gallery and giving them $20 to make sure they go look at their online gallery, your sales are going to be very, very good, well beyond the $24 to $29 average. People are also going to be buying wall portraits. They're going to be buying albums. There's all kinds of ways to make money on these mini sessions. I was absolutely blown away this summer on how well this worked compared to going into a studio and shooting everyone on spec. I do everything online. 4 years ago, people looked at me like I had a toaster on my head for doing that. But in this day and age with Amazon, that's what the parents seem to expect. So we're making money while you sleep. You process the orders, you deliver them, and then you rinse and repeat. And it's also a good idea to follow up with the client to make sure that they're happy. And, you kind of play with them throughout the entire year. So some of the products that I offer, you can see some of them behind me. These are 16 by 20 canvases. These are 16 by 24 canvases. Obviously my baby work on the top, but all dance work on the bottom. These sell like crazy, especially through those mini sessions. It's a really good product to add. For doing online sales, I can't go into what platform to use. There are so many available. You'd have to research that out, but there's all kinds of them, and just pick the one that suits your needs. And occasionally you're going to run into a parent who wants to come into your studio and wants your help to do the selection. And yeah, God bless those people. Bring them in, because IPS is going to send your average right through the roof. If they need help, they're planning on buying a lot. So you want to be sure that you accommodate them. But while they're placing their order, use the online form. Just, go online and use the form that they would otherwise use, so that you're also training them at the same time on how to do that. Limit the time to order. So, that $20 coupon is going to expire in 7 days. That creates urgency, and then stick to that deadline. Once that coupon's expired, I'm sorry, I can't apply that anymore. And then be prolific in your emails. You want to stay in front of their face. Those emails are email blasts that you provide the studio owner. If you're doing a mini session, terrific. You can send those emails out to the client. But if it has to go through the studio owner, make sure those are going out, because if they don't know that they need to order, they won't. They typically need to be reminded 2 to 3 times. This is a screenshot from this summer from mini sessions with the names of the customers redacted out, but you can see how the orders range. So my smallest order was from a little tiny tot, which is just under $20. And that means she actually spent $40, okay, and then took the $20 off. And then you can see the orders range as high as $1,693.87. So that is a client with 7 dances who ordered an album. The top order is an album. And, in between, they're all over the map. And this is just a few of the orders that came in from running 3 days of mini sessions with an average of 8 to 10 kids per day. So it's a fairly good way to make a few dollars there during the summer without working too hard. You want to reopen those albums at Christmas and on Black Friday, and then you can offer special products. Maybe at Christmas you want to offer, Christmas ornaments or special Christmas cards. Make sure you follow up with newsletters. If you're making a mistake, own it. Talk about your awesome dancers on your social media. Show them off. Don't show off what you did. Talk about how awesome they are and how beautiful their technique is. And, look at the muscle tone on that calf, and what a gorgeous costume. And isn't this, young lady doing this pose wonderfully? Those, making them the star is going to go a long way in your marketing to bringing more clients and making people like you that way. Have a coffee with your studio owner. Debrief your studio session. What went wrong? What went well? What could you do better? Just having that conversation is about an 80% chance of getting you the contract the following year. I also like to throw in the odd random act of kindness. So I'm a big believer in the Starbucks gift card, and just mailing that out in an envelope with some glitter attached makes you very memorable, especially when the glitter hits the floor. And if you have a long time studio, make an album for them. Just do up an album. It's your cost. Maybe it costs you $100. That studio owner is going to be incredibly grateful for that they can show off. Plus, it's advertising for you. So everything that I've talked about so far in the 5-step roadmap circles back to building that trust and those relationships with your dance studio and your parents. There is a step 6, and it's the get off your butt. Okay, so if you want to do this well, don't be thinking about it. Get up, get the roadmap, write out the steps, and get moving, and then repeat. That's how you make money. So, as my friend Eric Miller would say, go out and make some money today. Go sell something. Just for your information, I do have another website beyond Shine Photo. It's called boutiquevolume.com. And that's where I sell private coaching, group coaching, and workshops to help you with boutique volume sales, both in dance, in mini sessions, in high school modeling, and with weddings. And there's also a Facebook group where we primarily talk about dance, but it's a growing little concern. So a little bit of fun happening there too. And that is as fast as I can talk.
That was excellent.
That was. Now I got to stretch out again. I was too involved with that.
I was taking notes. I have a million questions.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, I just want to point something out. But before I do, let me just say this, that I've had you do webinars 2, 3, 4 years ago, and you've talked about this it was a rougher version, I believe. You've really streamlined, and your message is very succinct. You seem to have a lot of clarity. But I want to point out too that the way you're doing this, I don't know if anybody else, you were defining industry standards. Just to point out the one key thing that is so in defiance of what so many other photographers, as soon as you mention this, they go, no, it's not going to happen. And we're talking about, you do online galleries, correct? I just want to make sure everyone's clear on that, right?
Yeah, for volume, I do online galleries.
And it's not necessarily volume, because your sales are pretty good. Your averages are excellent. But so many photographers, and myself included, I can't stand galleries. I call them deal killers. However, and I want to point out something that applies to my photography business, and that is a large bulk of our business is Ferry Day. We do the Ferry Day events. And, we go out of town. We've been going to Johnstown, and we go to London, Ontario. By the way, we went to London, Ontario last September, and we went to the biggest dance school in the whole city, the most successful dance school. And this is our second year there. And we really have bonded with the client, the owner. And I was telling my wife when we met this owner, we had a conversation before we unloaded our van. And I said to Tina, I smell opportunity. We're bonding with her. 3 weeks later, she sends us an email and says, there's a dance school owner in Stony Creek who wants to do a Ferry Day in her dance school. Boom. So, but my point is this, okay? And I want to circle back to your situation, Nancy. But I'm always looking for ways. One of the things about doing Ferry Days that I really, really like is, man, we make a lot of sales. The sales are crazy. We could easily rake in $15,000 to $25,000 on a day and a half of shooting. And one of the things I don't like is that we have to schedule most people to come back the next day to do in-person selling, because I'm vehemently against galleries. But I'm looking at what you're doing, and I'm thinking this might work with a few modifications. So you're defying the industry. You're photographers of whatever field they're into. I don't think this is exclusive to dance. You're doing galleries and you're making it work, although the industry mindset is you never do online galleries.
Can I clarify there?
Yeah, go for it.
I do galleries for volume.
Yeah.
And volume means when I'm going in to shoot, I'm shooting 100 to 350 kids. So there's no way that in-person sales would work for that many people. Okay. I would only be able to do one studio, and I might not even get through that, or I'd have to hire other people to do in-person sales. So I don't have a choice. The industry way of doing it previously was with paper packages and proofs, much like school photos. That's what I changed in my business, was doing online sales. And people looked at me, like I said, like I had a toaster on my head. But if I have people that want to come in for online or for in-person sales, I will absolutely go that way. Absolutely.
That's a marker. That's a marker.
Yes. So if I were doing ferries, you're not shooting 100 kids in a day and a half.
No.
There's no way. Plus, there's all kinds of post-processing that you want to be able to talk about with the parent when you're doing those ferry pictures. Oh my gosh, look at this. We can put these little sparkles here, and we'll put the ripples in the pond, and it's going to look so awesome. Those are selling points. You have to be there to do that.
I still think there's a potential. I still think, and we are still volume. Like, we will photograph anywhere from 25 to 40 sessions over a day and a half. To me, that's volume-ish.
Yeah, it's boutique volume. You could definitely combine the online gallery with a Zoom session, or something like what we're doing right now, where you're actually talking to the people and still showing a gallery.
We do Zoom sessions for those who can't make it while we're there in their city. we offer a Zoom session, and I'm keeping a close eye on the sales on those because I want to see, are they being affected because it's Zoom? Nothing beats in person, nothing. However, I'm intrigued by the way you're doing it, and I'm gonna ask you a question in a minute on how you're doing it. I want to, because I've got in my brain I have these questions. And you figured it out. You made the job easy for us, man. You figured it out. And I mean, why should I have to learn the hard way when I can just go to Nancy and say, Nancy, learn the hard way, and she knows what she's talking about. So, but I do think with fairies, like you said, the treatment, that's easy to resolve, in my opinion. When people come in, we show them before and afters. We manage their expectations when they come in for the proofing, that is. That's the first thing we show them. We say, well, I want you to know there's going to be a lot of work that's going to be done to all your images and blah, blah, blah. We show them a series of before and afters. And they're like, okay, so when I'm looking at my kids' images, I got to keep that in mind. And it's a selling point, but it's an information point too. They need to know that. I could give them that information from first contact when they first book to when they show up in person. I could reiterate all that and then send them a follow-up email, watch the video, a 2-minute video, blah, 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 before your gallery. I'm going to test it. So that's all I'm saying, Nancy. And I'm going to borrow a lot of your strategies for testing it to save time. Because one of the things I hate the most is sitting through a day of proofing. It drives me batty. My she's freaking cool. She's amazing with it. But I'm like, poking needles in my eyes. So, I had a dance school booked last summer, but that to say that what you're doing, you're not necessarily, when you do volume, that's when you go to the actual school, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is that happening at all during COVID?
Nope, not so far.
Okay, so that's over. So that's why my first ever dance school, well, I'm not going to say my first, 20 years ago I had a school, but I didn't know what I was doing. It was back in the film days. So your typical high volume boutique, go to the school, shoot, build a bajillion pictures, that has not come back yet. So now what you're doing is, are you going to the same schools and saying, look, you guys can come into the studio and get pretty much the same stuff done in my studio? That's what you're doing now.
Correct.
Just so I'm clear on that.
Yes.
Okay. I'm slow.
And the sales averages are actually higher. Okay.
That's good to know. It's probably a lot to do with the fact that it's apart from going to the school. This is a special event. The way they perceive it, they're going to your studio. I've always believed that going to a studio is part of that experience. And
and I'm producing more pictures per dancer, per costume.
Yeah.
So they're getting more choice, and as a result, again, they're not doing this one or this one. They're doing this one and this one.
Yeah. So you're marketing to the same schools. You're like, come on in, guys. We can get all your sessions done, even though they are not doing any dance lessons at all, or
not since Christmas. Everything's online, and before that, it was pretty much mixed because they had to limit the number of people that were coming into the studio. So what some of the studios were doing was they were bringing in dancers week 1, and then week 2, those kids would do the online version of the class. Okay. And they would just switch it up. So everybody got a turn in the studio, but all of that came to a crashing halt in December as well.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, but no competitions. Competitions are obviously a big part of all this picture.
Yeah, online competitions are happening. So the people that are the corporations that are hosting these competitions, they are switching to online and having video uploaded. We have a local competition here that has just shy of 850 dances in it. It's 4 days straight of 14 hours a day that I shoot, usually in the neighborhood of 30,000 pictures.
Wow!
And that's all going virtual as well. So again, I'm going to just reach out with mini sessions.
Yeah, well, there's still a market, obviously.
Yep.
So I just want to mention too, anybody who works in the dance school, and Nancy, this is probably something you could look at doing too, doing actual fairy day sessions at dance schools. Man, what a sweet gig that was for us. And I'm looking at it as more opportunities unfold, including the example I just gave you, where we have the lady from Stony Creek who owns a dance studio. Literally I could do that, and that's all I could do. I mean, if I wanted to, and I would earn a pretty good living doing that. So just throwing that out there as idea. What do you do about for your mini sessions? I'm just 2 questions on that, and I'm going to shut up, and maybe John's got a question or 2. I'm not sure, but 2 questions on the mini sessions in your studio. What happens when you have groups, or is that not a thing anymore? And somebody comes in, they have 5 outfits. Is that as popular as it used to be in the old days, the non-pre-COVID days? And if they want 5 outfits, do you charge them $20 per, or is it $20 and it's all included in there because they're going to buy more?
Right. So I did not do groups this year. Okay. I do have the software to composite groups, but then you have to have the participation of everyone in the group to make that look right.
Yeah.
So, if everyone in a group is coming in, absolutely, you know what? I'll composite it. I'll throw that together for you. But otherwise, no. Group.
So it's mostly
it's
solos.
all sing. Yeah. And sibling. What was the second question? Sorry.
I forgot. John, what was it? Groups?
I have no clue.
When you have, say, a mom who has her daughter.
The multiple costumes.
Just 5 costumes, you $20 for the whole gig, or is it?
Yeah. So like I said, I use Acuity scheduling, and I charge a $20 session fee, and Acuity allows them to choose how many costumes they have. So I give them options for 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 costumes.
Right.
And let's say they have 5 costumes. Acuity will automatically take that session from a 10-minute session to a 50-minute session.
So they're paying more, though?
I don't charge them any extra.
Okay, that's the question I had.
Yeah, if they've got 5 costumes, I'm making money on them.
Gotcha.
I don't worry about that $20. But if they have more than 5 costumes, now they're monopolizing the time, because there are so many hours in a day to shoot. So then I make them pay a second session fee. And what I found happened with that was they prioritized their 5 costumes.
What was your flooring made of again?
It's just a very, very thin, high gloss patent vinyl. Comes on a roll, Fabricland, $10 a meter. Apparently, it's fairly hard to find in the United States. It is not hard to find at Fabricland. They've got it in white, black, red check, and clear. And it's tablecloth vinyl. It's used in restaurants.
Really? And it's pretty rugged. It sounds like it would break.
Yeah. No, you can clean it up with your shoe, with your sock even. You just, rub over it. Sometimes if there's a bigger scuff, that comes as a result of hip-hop shoes, running shoes. Magic Eraser takes that off. Cleans up really nice with a Swiffer wet very quickly. And I use, I buy a roll for $140. I'll use it for 3 years before I go.
How wide is it? Is it 10 or 12 feet?
It's 52 inches wide, and it's just sold by the yard or the meter.
So you seam it together?
Yeah, I overlap. By about 3 inches. Yeah, and then I tape it at the ends. It does not work on carpet. Don't put. You got to be able to tape it down to get that nice flat look. So don't be putting it on carpet, because that's a mess.
I love the tips. I love the tip from the morgue, by the way. Only a ex-retired forensics cop would have that. No one else would figure that one out.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it makes perfect sense. I mean, you're really making your life so much easier. John, do you have any questions? Does anybody else? I know somebody made a comment here. He or she, their name is.
No, it was Robin Spencer, the one that I put up there before, I think.
Okay. Can you see Robin Spencer doing a bridge? I can see it, man.
Is that this one here you're talking about the galleries?
The question? Or the bridge?
No, you said you saw somebody said something down there.
I was going to, and then another question came in. So somebody's commenting anonymously. I love galleries. I only do galleries. But it took me 2 years to tweak the gallery system to match in-person sales, which is pretty good. I'm still blown away. Is that Robin that's saying, I found mine at Hobby Lobby in the fabric section? Hobby
That
Lobby.
was Catherine List that said that.
Thanks, Catherine. Do we have a Hobby
Hi,
Lobby
Catherine.
in Canada? Is she part of your group?
I don't know if we do or not.
Yes, she is. Yeah. And she had some really stellar results this summer as well.
So if anybody wants to get more of Nancy, I'm going to give you my seal of approval, man. I would check out her stuff and become one of her students, one of her members. Who is saying here, my dance studio organizer fill out order books the day
that
of
was
the shoot?
Joseph Leduc.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe.
Yeah. He wrote a whole paragraph there for you. My dance studio's organizer.
Yeah.
Fill out order books the day of the shoot. See, I think mine's are a little bit mixture of what Nancy does, and it's also a little different. And here we do it right in the dance studio itself. We don't do it in my studio. We do it actually at the dance studio. And I set up similar to her. I take my 10 by 20 muslin white backdrop. I turn it sideways so it's 20 wide, and we have it coming down to the floor. We tape it, and then I have a normal 9-foot seamless white that we roll out on the floor, and then on top of that, overlapping like she does, I have my white vinyl, which is about 10 feet by 20 feet.
So you have a white paper drop rolled out and with vinyl on top?
With the vinyl about 2 inches over top, 3 inches over top of that, and that's the front. The dancers are on the vinyl part, not on the seamless backdrop, because it's just paper. And we do it the same way. We have although I have the big parabolic, that big umbrella, the 86-inch umbrella as my main light coming in. Then I have I think it's like about a 2.5 feet by 4 foot high soft box on the right-hand side, kicking a little fill from the other side. And then I'm lighting the backdrop with a couple lights too. So almost the same setup that Nancy's doing. The difference is we actually have order for it. We actually do it on the spot. We have order forms for parents. We give them ahead of time. They fill them out. Similar to like Warren does with the envelopes. We were doing it that way.
Right.
So it's a little different. We don't do it in the studio right now, but we've like her, we didn't do anything last summer. We had 3 schools we were supposed to do. And one's now closed down for good. She was close to retirement as it was. And then COVID just sort of knocked her right out. We have 2 other ones that we are hopefully going to be doing again this year. I was wondering, Nancy, have you ever looked at, you were talking about compositing, if the parents really want, or the organization really wants you to composite a group shot. I started with my hockey pictures here, and it went really well. We're looking at doing it with dance. There's a company called Next Gen out of the States that I'm using, and they'll composite it for you, and that's who I'm looking at using for my dance this year, just so I can salvage some.
Over in my boutique volume group, I actually I have a webinar that I recorded with Wes from Next Gen.
Okay, yeah.
Because that is one of the systems that you can use, and a lot of people use that with the Elastilite. But of course, it can be used with other systems as well. And looking at the questions here, that did you say his name was Joe, who walks out with a box of cash and does 800 dancers?
I think that's Joe.
Photography is like spaghetti. There's more than one way to cook a noodle, and if it's working, go with it. The only thing that I would say about not moving to online sales is that online sales tends to make the parents happier, because that's the day and age that we're living in. Yep. So if you aren't thinking about, stepping up your tech, you run the risk of having a photographer come in that does offer that and taking away your business.
Sounds to me like there's also more money. I mean, judging from your experience.
Not initially, maybe not with your first year, because change sometimes brings on resistance.
Yeah.
So, that first year, you may find parents going, I don't like this. It's too difficult. I have to log on. Having said that, what parent can't log on now because of COVID?
Become the norm now.
Just about everybody's computer literate now.
Yeah. Well, I've been talking to my web designer about redesigning my site and adding an e-commerce site on there just for that purpose.
So even if your sales drop when you initially move over to online ordering, if that's what you're going with, the second year, if you open up the previous year's album with the current year's album, All those parents that didn't buy the previous year are jumping in to buy. And that's something that I always do as well, as I always open up the 1 year previous album with the current year.
Always selling.
Yeah.
And is that how you're doing? Do you have like an actual e-commerce site built into your site, or do you have a separate site that you use just for that ordering purpose?
I have a separate site that I use just for the ordering purpose, and it links in seamlessly to my website. So I use a WordPress site, because I find when you use a website that is built on a third-party platform, it's like giving your keys to another business. Yeah. Giving the keys, and also your SEO tends to go down. If you're doing your own site and you're updating your homepage once a month, your main pages every 3 months, and the rest of your site once a year, that's going to keep you a lot higher in the Google search engine ratings.
So when you say you use a separate, is it like a company that does online sales like that, but you say somehow you've integrated onto your WordPress site, or is it through your bank or through whoever you use your credit card with?
So personally, I use something called Online Picture Proof. And that works really, really well for me for dance studios. I also have a lifetime purchase membership to ProofPix. It's a Canadian that started up an online selling platform, and he lives in a nice warm country now. I'm so jealous. But there are so many of them that have sprung up over the last 3 years.
Really?
There truly are. There's so many of them. So my recommendation would be just go get the free trial and try them out. They all have a learning curve.
Online picture picks?
Online Picture Proof is the one that I use. Yeah. Try them out. Try their 30-day free trial. And if you need more, just write to them. They'll give you a few more days usually, and see which one works. Once you've set one up, you'll find that it's easier to set up a second one or a third one or a fourth one. And then you can see what works for you.
Yeah.
And
do they take a percentage of your sales, or?
Some of them do, some of them don't. So the ones that I'm using do not take a percentage of my sales. And there are some very, very good American products, very good. But if they're taking a percentage of the sales and charging for visa processing, I'm also paying exchange on that. And as you know, with volume shooting, pennies count.
Exactly.
So very, very good products, but not for me as a Canadian.
Because I know the company that I use for my credit card and debit sales is a company in Canada here called Moneris. Because a lot of people have the Square Up, but I have Moneris. It comes with a PIN pad. I can do credit cards, plus I can do debit. And I know they can integrate, I guess, an e-commerce into your site somehow. And I was looking at originally doing that so I can keep all the eggs in one basket when it comes to the funding. But I don't know. I'm going to check out these other ones too, because if they're a lot easier than trying to, I don't know what Moneris is going to try.
This is Square. And it integrates into everything. Everything that I have coming in comes through Square, and the rates are very, very good. Yeah. Plus all the reporting and everything that you get. But I bought the terminal for $280, and that way people don't have to touch my phone. To make a payment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just stayed with Moneris because when I got it at the time, Square wasn't in Canada at the time. It was just, there was nobody doing it. And then Moneris came out, and theirs looked like Square. The Square had the little square. This one had a little dome type of thing. And then Moneris was the first one to come out with a pin pad, actually. It looks almost like my cell phone. It's about this size. It's a little pin pad. It looks like a calculator that allows me to do credit card, debit, has chip, it has tap, it has everything on it. So people, like you said, they can just tap it. They don't have to do anything. And the rates between the two of them now are so similar that there's no use in me changing over. So that's why I've stuck with them. And the customer service is great. So it's called Paid Pro, I think that's called, is what I use.
So, like I said, you know what? There's more than one way to cook a noodle. You just got to find the stuff that works for you.
I'm just curious. So you have your Square linked in with that online picture proofs? Yeah.
I have my Square linked into all my e-commerce, and then I also use PayPal for US sales.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm wondering if my Paid Pro can link in with that online picture proof. That's all the same. So I'll check it out for sure. Definitely.
Excellent. So I think we're almost done with our time with Nancy. And if you have any more questions, now's your chance. Nancy, I really appreciate you coming on board and helping us out.
Yeah, no worries.
You're an excellent instructor, and somebody said Nancy is a fabulous mentor.
That's your friend Catherine that said that.
Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah. Well, I can attest to Nancy's teaching skills and her passion and her entrepreneurial drive. It's definitely there, and we all need that. We need to stay on top of things in order to keep our businesses relevant and profitable in these trying times. So do you see things coming back anytime within the next couple of years, Nancy, or what do you have any visions as to what the future looks like? Any thoughts at all?
I think that in 2022, I think we'll start to see things go back to the way they were. Having said that, I don't know if I will go back to the way things were.
What do you mean by that?
I'll probably continue doing these mini sessions for dancers because the sales average goes up.
Yeah.
I may incorporate some of the things that I learned by doing these mini sessions in my studio shoots when I'm going into the dance studio. So yeah, I think you're always learning, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's a very fluid thing, the business. I think Chris Wonder said it the best once in a workshop I took from him. He said, if the cheese moves, you better move your mouse. Otherwise, your mouse is going to starve.
Learn, adapt, and roll with it. So, but do you think you'll lose some schools because of that potentially, or they might start questioning? Well,
I don't think she would.
I don't think so. I think that this gives me the opportunity to market to more schools because I've got the time. I want to say there's 10.
Oh,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, one closed. One closed about a year ago. But I mean, and dance is just one of the artistic sports.
Yeah.
There's figure skating. There's gymnastics. I love gymnastics.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah.
They don't seem to be as diversified in the costumes and all.
No, not the costumes. Where you have to diversify there is the equipment.
Yeah.
So you have to set up, a different shot for each piece of equipment, and then it's just like having different costumes.
Right.
So you have your floor shot. You have something set up to be shot on the beam, something on the trampoline, which gives you an aerial shot. I've got a great shot for the bars that makes it look like they're just flying through the air and they're not doing anything. Super easy. Yeah, it's it's an awesome shot. And then you've got vault. So
cool.
If you had one of those, and then not to mention you've got all your boys, apparatus as well.
Right.
But you could.
My daughter does both gymnastics and dance, so I'm familiar with a lot of them. So
yeah,
definitely. I'm thinking of incorporating some of these mini session things into, like when I go to the studio to do their dance pictures, because one studio here they have about I want to say about 150 dancers. There's another one here that might be hiring me this year, actually retiring, and there are about 300 dancers there. So doing the normal shoots I do for them, but then incorporating some sort of advertising or marketing piece that I give all the parents, saying if you want even more in depth, we can organize an actual studio shoot in my studio and have them come in and then have more time per dancer that way too. Just incorporate as an extra add-on.
Extra,
yeah. And there's a lot of photographers right now that are doing really, really well with these specialty shoots too. I believe it's Two Tomatoes in Florida. They are shooting what they call rain sessions. So they've got the black splash drop set up, and they have a PVC pipe that rains all over the place, and they bring the kids in and they splash around, and the photos are gorgeous.
Sounds like
absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, and it's fun. Who wouldn't want to do that?
What's it called?
I believe it's called Two Tomatoes.
Interesting title.
Yeah.
And I know what you mean about the glitter too, because I used to share a studio downtown here with two other photographers, and one of them, he used to do his glitter sessions for his glamour and boudoir people, and he'd do his glitter sessions, and we had hardwood floors in there with the little teeny planks, and in between each plank that got in there, and it was like 6 months later, and you're still finding, no matter how much you mopped it, you were still finding glitter
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've found it in my ceiling tiles. Like,
Go figure.
yeah,
Must be the
Oh,
mice.
the
but it's
mice.
fun. It's fun. Yeah, smoke is a good one because you can add on to that with Photoshop brushes.
Mhm.
I see a lot of people doing the powder and the flower shoots. I would totally stay away from that. There is a
No
reason why flower mills blow up. And it's because all that increased surface area and one spark from your camera will incinerate your dancer. So
Mhm.
from your flash, yeah,
I hate
those
it when that happens.
scare me. Yep. Remember Michael Jackson's hair caught fire? You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Lesson learned.
All right,
So,
Nancy. Well, we'll let you go, and I appreciate you taking the time out. We're going again next Wednesday. John and I are going to be talking about marketing and success tips, and down the road we'll have another special guest. But I really appreciate you.
Yeah, no
Yeah, I
problem.
learned a lot.
My
That's for sure.
pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Really,
No, and hopefully everybody
really
will
appreciate
tune in
it.
again next week and all the other weeks. And I know we're going to try and get Danny Ravel on here eventually. And
He's in queue.
I've been talking to Rob about a friend. Well, not a friend, but a guy I know in Kentucky. There, a guy named Ben Marco. He does awesome glamour portraits and things like that. So I'm going to try and get him on here because his style is phenomenal.
Looking
his
forward
personality
to
is
it.
killer. So hopefully
All
I'll
right.
talk to him. All right, so I guess we're going to sign off here. I'm going to play the outro, but no, thanks for everybody for coming, and I guess we'll wait till next time.
Thanks, Nancy. Thanks,
you.
John.
Thanks.
See you all soon.